decisions, find the right choice. Know yourself better, find your own voice. It's okay if you need help today, cause everybody needs a little push. From the pushy broad, from the Bronx, New York.
Good morning, Transformation Network listeners. My name is Ellen Stewart, and I am the pushy broad from the Bronx. Welcome to my show, Recovery Recharged, where I share advice and support from experts in addiction and recovery. And today is no different. I have one of our frequent consultants on the show today to give you expert advice about job hunting and the mental process behind job hunting. My resident guru career coach, Melanie Mitchell Wexler, is here with us this morning at the Pushy Broad. And Melanie, as you already know, having been with us 7 times, brings 20 years of recruiting and staffing experience, does private career coaching for the entire country. She's available to you, and she's going to tell you where to find her. So if you need her, you get in touch with her. She's been doing this for close to 10 years, and she has had great success as a recruiter. She has immense knowledge about the market, about the personal and professional struggles in job searching, and I think you need to hear this today. So she's written an article that prompted me to bring her back, which we will discuss. The Pushy Broad from the Bronx welcomes my friend, my guru career coach, Melanie Wexler. Good morning, Melanie. How you doing?
Good. I'm doing good. I'm glad to be here. Thanks for always having me. I appreciate it.
Thank you so much. Look, you give it to us straight. You have infinite knowledge. I think you are the LinkedIn professional on top of everything else. And I was so struck by an article that you wrote, something about, personal career journeys. Tell us a little bit about the article and how important it was for you.
Yeah. So, I built this career up 20 years as a recruiter. Had to make the decision that the company I was with no longer was the right company. I was 8 years. I hadn't been in the job market for 8 years. Did not matter if I had been on one side of the fence, put myself in the market. And this is back in 2017. And honestly, now that I look back on it, I see changes in the job market even from back then, and not necessarily kind of realizing the big picture. But what I struggled. I initially got an opportunity, was really excited about it, ended up not being the right opportunity. Promises that were made were not kept. By this time, I had not been working for several months, so financially was struggling, single mom. My son was off at college. I was raising my preteen daughter, and I was struggling big time. And I went, at that point, months, and I know there's people out there that have gone even further than that, but I was, landed a job. It was been October of 2017. Fast forward the Thursday before Thanksgiving, yes, that is still ingrained and emblazoned in my brain. I got laid off, and I knew that it was probably going to be another 2 to 3 months before I could officially land anything. And I was right, because we were going into the holidays. People don't hire recruiters during in the month of December. So by then, I was broke. My dad had started having health problems. My parents were helping take care of financial needs that my son was having in college. Everybody was stretched then. So it wasn't like, oh, well, we can come in and, rescue Melanie or, help Melanie out, even though I was a grown adult. And, but, that's just how my family was. And I literally, there's times I think we maybe had $20, to my name. And so I, started writing resumes. The first one I always say was a bone, probably just to throw some cash at me. But then I landed a real, what I call, that first one was a real client, but it was a friend. And so
that's where it starts, right? It starts with friends.
Where it starts, right? It starts with somebody saying, I know you can help me. Hey, how much, I had no clue what to charge. I didn't, I wasn't planning on starting a business. I was still going to go corporate recruiting. That was my focus. And then I just, I took a chance. I invested in myself. I invested in LinkedIn Premium because I knew my clients. I was like, well, there's probably some business there. What if I just started writing some resumes on the side while I'm looking for a job? That little idea and concept actually grew, but into where I'm at today, which is like 9.5 years later, I did actually take another full-time job. I was actually doing the coaching and the writing resumes on any free time that I had. We made some moves with my daughter. We got got her in a good school system. Meant that she had to move to Connecticut with her dad for that though. And, so there were these periods of time that it was probably the lowest period of time of my life. And I don't say that lightly. I mean, I've gone through the loss of both of my parents and divorces and all these other things, but that was the biggest struggle. I mean, there were times that during that period of time, the only thing that got me out of bed was my daughter, getting her to school.
I understand completely. And I know it was a big struggle for you. And this is one of the things that I want to point out to our listeners, especially in recovery. When we start, we know what it's like to hit bottom. We know what it's like when it's been the most toughest time in our lives, not only because an addiction that we're trying to get better from and we're trying to go into recovery, but maybe then when we do get clean and sober, we're still at a loss. We may need a brand new job. We may need a brand new relationship. Everything seems like it's not going to work. Okay. What struck me from your article was the one thing that people say all the time in recovery. It is an absolute saying that I want you to tell us how you applied to your life and this particular article, because in recovery, we say progress, not perfection. So explain to us briefly what that meant for you and what it means in the career search arena.
Absolutely. So for me, I had to start recognizing my small wins. I had to not look at the end goal of like, okay, I'm not here yet. I'm not here yet. I'm not out of debt. That's a whole list of things I could focus on. But what actually changed for me, and I'm a big believer of this in the job search area, I talk to my clients and people about this all the time, is your mindset. And so during this period of time, started working on my mindset. I started learning about, different techniques that some people will call woo-woo and all these things, but I was grasping for anything and everything, but I had to work on my mindset. I had to regain my confidence that I still had I still had those abilities, even though I struggled and even though I had kind of hit my rock bottom. That did not mean I lost my talent. It did not mean that I had lost my ability to do a good job. It just meant I had a period of time that wasn't good. And so instead of sitting in that and, I could have chose to embrace that, and that would not have helped me. That would not have gotten me anywhere. So I had to, in terms of the way I look at it, it's small wins. You know what? You did get the interview. You know what? Somebody did call you back. Not everybody's going to call you back. You're not going to get 100 interviews. That's not the concept. That's not the process. But what you do have to look at is, you know what? In some days it was, hey, I got out of bed, and I applied to 2 jobs. I mean, there's days that I would look up and I'd be like, oh, I have nothing to be grateful for. And I'd be like, you know what? You better find it. You better find something to be great. Okay, I'm grateful for the sun.
You're
grateful for the
absolutely
sun.
right.
And so you got to embrace those small wins, especially in a job search.
Yes. And we do that all the time. We do that in recovery. We know what those principles are. We need to apply them to the rest of our lives. There's a couple of things you said that are really poignant. They're simple, but they really do make an impact. And one of those things is simple gratitude for everything around you and the fact that you have another opportunity to face the day. And second of all, small wins. Count the small wins, whatever it is. You got an interview today. You sent out a resume today. These are positive things. things, changing our mindset. And one more thing, which was really cool and really easy and simple that we always forget. It doesn't matter what the world says. You still have your talents and your abilities. They're not lost in the universe just because somebody isn't hiring you for them. You still retain your talents and your skills. And that's enough to give anybody hope on a daily basis, don't you think?
Absolutely. And, you know, in a job search, you're going to get rejection. You're good. You're only, the goal is one yes, you know, ideally. Maybe you'll get two yeses or, you know, things of that nature for the final destination, but the final destination doesn't happen overnight. The final destination, just like if you are in recovery and you're overcoming those challenges, that didn't happen overnight either. So we have to take that time and work on ourselves, and we have to work on our confidence and mindset. I truly believe that is going to be your greatest strength, especially in today's job market. And I fully acknowledge the market I was in was very different, but it was still very hard for me. Now I look at the clients I have and I realize, you know, yes, today's job market has even gotten even more difficult. So that's what we have to work on our confidence and our mindset, and we have to embrace that aspect of it, because that's going to be your superpower. That's going to be your tool. And that's when something does happen, or, you know, negative situations will arise, because this is life. You're going to be better equipped in terms of how to handle it. And even to this day, I credit that work I did with how I handle negative situations in my life that arise today.
You're absolutely right. Mindset is key, and we talk about it in so many different ways. We talk about it in recovery when we say act as if, really act as if you know what it feels like to be in recovery, to sustain recovery, to tell yourself that you are enough, that you are valuable and capable and grateful for everything around you. And that positive outlook really is the vibration that puts out positive energy, don't you think?
Absolutely. It's contagious, it's energetic, it also helps move you forward. And where, you know, some people like, oh, you have your head, like, oh, you have your head in the clouds, like, aren't, you know, it's like, no, there's nothing wrong, even if you have struggles, and even if there's negative situations, there's nothing wrong with feeling good about yourself. There's nothing wrong with being, and that's probably a little bit of like what we've got wrong in this world today, is it's easy to embrace the negativity. It's hard to embrace positivity. And I don't know if it's how we've all like just become accustomed to things in this world. I don't know if it's, you know, our brains can be rewired. I've done a lot of like self-reflection, but I consume this information. I'm not, you know, a trained expert in like the mind or anything of that nature, but it's all based on, there's a book out there called The Power of the Subconscious Mind. You can get it on Kindle, Amazon. I have a coach, he recommended it. Amazing book, and it's really practical too. It was one of the first practical books that I've read, and I just read that this past summer, because I'm always trying to make my brain stronger, and I'm always trying to make my confidence stronger and just lead a positive life. Like, we don't need toxicity and toxic negative things. We've got enough struggles. So let's not add to it.
You're absolutely right. So I know that you do some great career coaching work. Would you please tell people about your website and where to find you?
Yeah, so you can go to my website, findsucceedachieve.com, and you can always message me directly there, or you can find me on LinkedIn. I spend a pretty big chunk of my day on there. And so those are two of the easiest ways to connect with me.
Wonderful. All right. So we know sometimes it's really, really hard for people to try to get the great mindset when there are bills that need to be paid. Okay. That's the biggest thing. You talk about, you know, maybe shifting a little bit and setting a realistic goal around financial freedom and feeling frustrated around me and around ourselves rather, and thinking about doing all the right things and nothing is working. Can you walk us through what that looked like for you and how you managed to make the shift, not only externally, but internally, as to what you thought about your goals around financial freedom.
Yeah, the biggest thing that I had to do, and this is still an area that I'm working on continuously, is one, I learned how to lean into gratitude, whether it was $1 in the account or whether it's $1,000 in the account. Learn to lean into gratitude, gratitude every single day, and that's actually something that if I'm not as good about it a lot. I'm not, but when I get too far off of it, my mindset definitely sees a reaction to it. The other biggest shift I had to start learning was really just holding myself accountable and making sure that I was documenting like when it came to financial issues, really documenting all of my spending and really being able to understand like where my money was going, how I could where could I save money, understanding that I wasn't going to pay off all of my debt, and because like what was the priority, and and like yes, I can tackle the debt, 4 or 5 steps down the road, that it's still going to be there, but I need to tackle other things first. And so the biggest lesson there was like not feeling like I was a failure for not tackling it, which is the whole concept of like you've got to have like you're trying to eat the elephant in one bite. It's not possible, so you've got to start small and then you got to work your way up. And those were probably the biggest things for me, of like getting out of that, kind of what I call getting out of the muck of just like feeling stuck and not feeling like I was making any progress in my financial life, but also not in my, professional and my personal life. I was just stuck all around. And so I really needed to, just take baby steps.
That's a really big thing. And that's also something that we use in recovery. It is about baby steps, one little step at a time. What can I do today? Right? Talk a little bit about what we mean when we say quiet wins when it comes to job searching and how we feel personally as we take each step forward.
Yeah, so those quiet wins are not, there's really only but one big win, and that's acceptance of a job offer in job searching. So I kind of call quiet wins a little bit of everything. So whether that's I applied to 3 jobs, how many people did I reach out to today? How many people responded? Did I take an online course to help better my knowledge? You know, did I make a post, or did I work on my resume? Did I work on my LinkedIn profile? There's so many attributes to job searching. I think a lot of people are like, job searching, it's apply and you wait. And that's not the market we're in right now. The market we're in right now is you have to be very proactive. And I just said this last night on a LinkedIn live that I do monthly, was you have to be you are going to be the only advocate for your job search. Yes, you if you're lucky, you have family, you have friends, you have people that are cheering you on, but you are your strongest and best advocate for your job search. Nobody can else get the job done. So you are going to have some thick skin. You are going to get no's. I tell people all this time, you're going to get rejected. It's just going to happen. I got rejected as well, and that's okay. But it's the choice you make today. Do I continue forward, or if you do choose to stop, then what's the alternative? To me, there's not that alternative, there's not the alternative. So I have to keep going. So even if it's like, okay, like, I think it was Monday, this Monday or last Monday, I got rejected by potential clients left and right. And honestly, I was feeling I was like, well, this sucks. I was like, okay. You know what I had to do? I had to put the computer away. And I just kind of had to like walk away from it. And I had to like walk away from that moment, go out and grab some fresh air, break the monotony of like what's happening. Because yeah, it did suck. It sucks for me too. And I wasn't happy. But at the end of the day, I was like, okay, you know what? We're just gonna put this day away. And tomorrow we're gonna start fresh.
I
Tomorrow we're going to
understand.
tackle that list. And
Right.
so I think that's that's the biggest thing that you can give yourself, is knowing like this is not the end of it. This isn't defining you. Today does not define you. Every day that you build towards something is what actually defines you. So what is that definition that you're looking for?
Exactly. I see so many clients as well that turn around and tell me, I don't think I really accomplished anything today because the outside world didn't react the way you needed it to react. It still doesn't mean that when I say, well, okay, then what did you do that you had no accomplishments? And they would say they made 10 phone calls. They sent out 15 different resumes. They managed to clean the house. They managed to rearrange things. They managed to go shopping. They managed to attend to their chores. And I say to them, well, that sounds like a lot of accomplishment to me. Just because somebody didn't say, okay, you can have this job now, doesn't mean that you're not putting the wheels in motion and taking care of yourself to open up the opportunity for something great and what you really want to come through, because that's how it goes. So, no progress in somebody's eyes may really be progress that they're not aware of, don't you think?
Absolutely. And here's the thing, if you are also taking care of yourself mentally and physically, you're doing something for yourself that is a greater longevity that's going to help you with that job when that job comes. That job's coming. We don't have the magic 8 ball. I can't, determine like when, but the job is coming. And so if you are not mentally and physically prepared, if your house isn't in order, like, if you've got doctor's appointments that you need to attend to, don't put those things off. You know, address those things now while you can, because then you go into a new opportunity with a clean space where you're not, because we know life will get caught up and you'll become, and you'll be like, oh gosh, I got to still, the house is a mess. Everything feels out of order as you get adjusted to a new schedule. So there'll be new challenges that you're going to face. So getting things in order now is actually a really good time. And I'm a big believer too. You should not be job searching. It's not meant to be a 24/7 job. Get up, move around, move your body, move your mind. I know it's really cold in a lot of places right now. So I'm not going to necessarily say go out and get some fresh air, but maybe stick your head out and just take in a real quick fresh spot of air, but then go back inside. But spring's coming. I tell myself that spring's coming. Get out for a walk, take a little break, walk away from the computer. If something is if you're consuming, don't consume negative news, don't consume negative, don't get caught up on all the negative reports that you see about the job market. Focus on your journey and your job search.
Very good. So we know that it is taking a little bit of time for people to get what they want. And some people get lots of job interviews and they go on them and nothing, and people wait forever. Or some people don't even get job interviews. And over time, the mental status of that job seeker is one of great frustration. And that
Yeah.
frustration makes them not want to get out of bed, not do anything, and generally be grumpy people to everybody around them, right? And then it's that spiral. So, advice, please, to these people. How do they turn it around?
I am going to repeat something I said earlier, and it starts with gratitude. It is, if you are in that funk and if you are in that space where everything around you looks negative, I I want you to step out of it. I want you to step out of it, because there's always somebody that has it a little bit harder than we do. Like in the moment, we think we've got the heart, like it's the poor, I don't want this to sound wrong, but it's the poor pity me kind of syndrome. And it's like, you know what? There's somebody else out there that's struggling a little bit more than you. And they may actually be looking at you going, wow, they're really doing great. They got it. They got a job interview. I didn't even get a job interview. So I just really believe if you can't recognize the things that you should be grateful for in your life, then, and I promise you there are. There's absolutely, and even if it takes you 20 minutes, I mean, or you repeat the same list every single day, you're reminding your brain, and your brain is starting to learn. See, our brains don't know necessarily like the negative and the like they don't know. We attach our feelings to certain things, but our brain doesn't really attach that feeling. And so we have to be able to recognize small things, good things. And if you have gotten the interviews and you say, you know what, I am landing the interviews, maybe I need to get some help with how I'm answering that. Because I will say this, if somebody is a really negative space and they're going to interviews, it shows. I've seen it as a recruiter. I've seen it where I'm like, oh, I've seen it when I'm practicing with, like, it's just like, and the reality is we don't want to be, people don't want to work with somebody that's negative.
Right.
Like and so we may have to like put on the smile and be like, but guess what that does to you? All of a sudden you start to feel a little bit better. And, so it's one of the things that, our brains are funny, in regards to that. So that's one of the big things that I think you have to me, it all starts with gratitude, to be very honest with you.
Okay. So one of the things you say in your article, which I love, and I know you've referenced this from somewhere, but I'm going to use it too. Success is going from failure to failure without loss of enthusiasm. That is totally brilliant. And it's probably one of my mantras as well. This is what you have to understand, that you are still in success mode if you don't freak out, if you decide to hold on to a positive attitude. Also, I worked in coaching, but before that, I did sales and marketing. And one of the greatest gurus, one of my mentors, turned around and said to me, every single no leads you closer to a yes. That just totally blew my mind. So you get all the no's in the world because, just like on the roulette wheel, you can play red forever, but it's going to come up black whether you want it to or not. So every single no leads you closer to a yes. Success is going from failure to failure without loss of enthusiasm, which is fantastic. We have 15 seconds for you to tell us, Melanie Wexler, what website we can find you on.
Yeah, so you can find me at findsucceedachieve.com, or just connect with me on LinkedIn, and definitely follow. I put out a newsletter usually every Thursday, with career advice and direction on LinkedIn. So
findsucceedachieve.com. You can also find her on LinkedIn. Really and truly sign up for her newsletter. She says some wonderful things. It is wonderful to work with her. She's extremely reasonable. She does virtual appointments all over the country. Melanie, thank you so much for being here today. This is the Pushy Broad from the Bronx saying thanks for listening, and we'll see you next time. This is Ellen Stewart, the Pushy Broad from the Bronx, saying thanks for listening, and remember, everybody needs a little push.
From the Pushy Broad from the Bronx, New York.